It's really nice to be here. I must say that it's pretty weird standing here because I used to work at a cinema when I was a student for a few years. So I would, stand behind the bar or check the tickets or sweep the popcorn from the floor. You have no idea how I hate popcorn. But I'm not here to talk about popcorn. I'm here to talk about user story mapping. And I won't be able in those 15 minutes to explain to you what is user story mapping in details. I can just show you how I used it in one of my projects and what it helped us achieve. So I'll start with my company. So I'm here on behalf of NetGuru. I'll do a small check. How many of you know what NetGuru is? All right. So just to give you a bit of a context, we build products, we build digital solutions, so we did a lot of projects for a lot of clients in multiple countries, so we kind of know what we're doing. And about me, this is me. As you can see, I have over 20 years of experience as a project manager. That's me as a junior project manager, managing probably my homework at my parents' office. And in the meantime, I was able to study abroad and to do some internships in US. I managed to study power engineering and marketing. Now I'm studying management, and I'm looking for something new to study. And all of those experiences allowed me to become a senior project manager and team leader at NetGuru, but you already know that. So I want to talk about the project. But it's not really important what this project was about, how big was the team, or the product that we are building. It's just about the project is that we are developing something for a client. And it started pretty well because we had a very good start. We had a scoping session where our experts sat down with the client, who was the product owner, and they specified the scope. They specified what kind of a budget the client has. They figured that the budget that he has is his private money, so he's very strict about the budget. And they help him create, based on that, the estimations and the budget. We had very good designs, which were double-checked by an experienced quality assurance specialist to make sure that we included all the elements that we should include. And in the course of the project, we had daily meetings with the product owner. We had a weekly demo with the product owner. So we were, set up for success, right? But when you lead a project and you have meetings, you sometimes start to hear sentences that kind of turn on this red lamp in your head, and you think, I think we're in trouble. And for me, those were these sentences. So the development team saying the flow you're describing is completely different from what we have in the designs. We have to re-estimate this task. Or I don't understand how this works with the rest of the application. So when you hear such sentences once, that's fine, that happens. But when you keep hearing them over and over again, you realize that you're in trouble and that your ship is kind of going in the direction of an iceberg. So what does a great project manager do when he sees or she sees an iceberg? We do a retrospective, right? So we look at the things that we did and how it made us into this certain moment of time. So we took a look at the scoping session, and it turned out that it was great, but it was 3 months before the project started, before the development started. Then we take a look at the designs. The designs happened 1 month after the scoping session and around 1 month before we started the development. The estimation and the budget was based on the result of the scoping session. And the cherry on top, which kind of intertwined with all of the things that I mentioned before, our product owner didn't have experience, a vision, and he would change his mind a lot. And I now know that when we change our mind, it's hard for our brain to recall what was the decision that we made before. So he even wasn't aware of the changes that he was introducing. So we ended up with a product that was, we were developing product that was different from what was on the scoping session, that was different from what was on the designs. And on the designs and the scoping session, those were also two different products. So we kind of try to regain control over the project. We meet with the designer, we review the designs, we create a super long list of questions for the product owner to kind of catch the scope and understand what we're doing. And with each question, with each answer, we have 5 more new questions. So it turns out that this iceberg is pretty big, and we have no idea how to save our ship. Fortunately, around the same time, as you know, I like to learn, so I was reading a book, and the book is user story mapping. So how many of you know what is a user story map? All right, that's pretty good. So I think this is my favorite definition, so it's a way of thinking. It's about telling stories, it's about building understanding. And here you can see an example for those of you who don't know. At the top, you have the bigger stories. At the bottom, you have those stories divided into smaller ones. And you kind of try to tell the story from left to right. And the horizontal lines that you see, those are the versions or releases, whatever you want to call it. So I thought, why not? We're heading towards a catastrophe. We have no idea what we're building. So let's try that. And this is the rescue mission. So we create a user story map in Trello because we usually work remotely. Then I think the most important part was that the map was created by the team. It wasn't the product owner who sat down and created every story. It was the team analyzing the designs, discussing, consulting with the product owner, and they created the scope that was developed. And we mapped the whole scope, so whatever appeared in our mind as something that the user would want or could use, we put it there. And all the agreements that we made were visualized, and I'll show you in a second what I mean by that. So this is the story map that we created. It's not the full story map. On the left-hand side, you see some kind of a legend. The colors represent the types of users, and so on and so on. And this is what I mean by having all the agreements visualized. So the budget didn't allow us to bring the designer back on the project, so we had to work around that. So we took Monosnap or whatever tool that was at hand, and we started adjusting the designs to the story map that we had in place. So what did it give us? In a short term, we were able to grasp the scope of the product. We estimated the scope based on the remaining budget and consultations with the client. We created the MVP. And again, we knew where we are in this project. And when it comes to a long-term perspective, we found a common language with the product owner, because before certain features were named in different ways. Right now we have one wording, one vocabulary. Then each change, because there'll always be changes, we were able to analyze them in the context of the whole application. So we open up the story map and we see, if we put this feature here, how does it influence the features before? How does it influence the features after? We had a useful tool for the negotiations with the product owner. So when he would suggest some kind of a new feature, we would be like putting it at the bottom of the story map and asking him to convince us to put it on the top to the MVP. And that was also part of education for him to explain and to think about the value that it brings to the users. And I think that the greatest thing was that the development team understood the vision, the product, and they were able to suggest simplification. And thanks to their suggestions, we could deliver more for less. And as a cherry on top, product owner was inspired to dig a bit deeper into the product. So was it a success? You know, kind of. Did we fit in the budget? No. Did we fit into the deadline? No, because all of those actions were taken too late. But it helped us a lot. Without it, the project would be a complete disaster, but at least we saved Kate. So it was partially a success. I think this also partially represents me after this project, trying to figure out if project management is what I want to do. And the structure of our iceberg, so what killed us kind of in this project is that we had a product owner without experience and a clear vision of a product. We had very long breaks between scoping, session design and start of development, which connected to the first point, created a lot of problems because the product was constantly shifting. And we treated for a long time the first design as the source of truth, instead of talking with the product owner and trying to grasp the scope in a way that is easier for us to understand. And I think the last thing and the most important, I didn't do my job right. So this was our iceberg, and that's where the user story map helped us. And I'm not telling you that it will solve all your problems, but I think that it's worth trying it if you feel that you're facing the similar problems that we were facing in this project. So the most important lesson for me is that a story map is much better backlog than the flat backlog. And I try to use this more visual way of showing the product in every project that I lead. It's not always possible, but it really helps people understand what we're building. And I also did a small checklist that you can use on your projects, that I'm using on my projects. So the first one is check your team. Do they know what they're building? We're talking so much about value, about the purpose, about the business understanding. This is super important because your team can help you build the product that you want in a shorter time if they know what they're doing. Then check yourself, and I'm talking here to product owners for sure, but also to Scrum Masters, because I think that it's impossible to help the product owner become a better product owner if you have no idea what they're building, if you have no idea what they're dealing with. Then check your tools and artifacts. Are they transparent enough? And in this task, a user story map can help you a lot. Because if you show the backlog in a more visualized way, the team will understand and it will be more transparent. And check your knowledge. If what you know is a fact or an assumption, you don't want to operate on assumptions, you want to operate on facts. So it's not a fact that your client is tracking the budget, even if it's his money and it's his own private money, right? So check what you know. And the last one, check your skills and attitude. Do you have a bad product owner, or are you a bad Scrum Master? And I think that's the most important from all of those. Thank you.